And I turn your attention next to another royal story, because, as I explained at the top of the hour, I feel that my gears are malfunctioning when it comes to non-royal stuff at the moment. It's as if you're fed an unleavened diet, I think I got to page 38 of the Daily Mail today before I reached a story that wasn't about the Queen or her family. And I'm not criticising that. I'm not offering an opinion. That's just counting. But it explains why the front page of the Financial Times has a powerful story about Kwasi Kwarteng contemplating a policy designed to give bankers bigger bonuses. One of his first acts as Chancellor of the Exchequer, potentially to give the highest paid people in the country higher pay. Incredible. But even as I say it to you, I don't feel the sort of aligning of the cogs that I would normally feel as I prepare to get informative and incensed about something despicable happening in our country. Those gears are not working for me this week, and it's Thursday, so I doubt they're going to kick in properly until next week, which is why, if you're wondering and you've just tuned in, we are today, although not all week, looking largely at royal-based stories. This one is not. This is a royal story we could have at any point. It's not like the queue. It's not unique to this week or indeed this day. It's about the woman Meghan Markle, as was the Duchess of Sussex, as is. And I've got two reservations about having this conversation. The first is, I never know how much store we should set by social media bonfires, however huge they may appear to be. But that concern is assuaged by the fact that some household name quotes journalists, end quotes, in this country have grown very fat of late upon the diet of abusing this woman for reasons that continue to elude me, and abusing her in the vilest ways. And the second reservation I have is that today is Prince Harry's birthday. And it would therefore perhaps be inappropriate to have a conversation about why so many ghouls and vampires have such a problem with his wife. But I've decided that it's unlikely Harry will be listening today. I know he likes to tune in whenever he's in town, and he's a devil for the podcasts. But I'm fairly confident that he won't be listening live to the programme today. And even if he was, he would find nothing to complain about from what I have to say about him and his wife. Indeed, I think Prince Charles put it extremely well during his address to the nation last Thursday night. Here it is. Friday, was it? Sorry. Last Friday night.
With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and lead our national conversations, helping to bring the marginal to the centre ground, where vital help can be given. I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
And these people who describe themselves as fans of the royal family, or as monarchists, or as royalists, choose a day like today or a day like yesterday to abuse the man and woman that Charles himself, the King of England, King Charles, chose to describe his love for in the most clear and incontrovertible of terms. And that's part of the confusion I have about these people. How can you think that you're showing support for the monarchy by being vile about someone's son and daughter-in-law? People who he has expressed his love for in the most public way imaginable. What is it that you think you're doing when you condemn this couple? I'm saying you. I doubt you're going to ring me. You're more than welcome to, but we're probably going to do a they of it. Do they think that Charles is sitting there in Buckingham Palace, or wherever he sits at the moment, lying about how much he loves his son and daughter-in-law, and loving it when Doris Bunch-of-Numbers with a Union flag avatar on Twitter attacks his son, his beloved son and daughter-in-law? Is that what is the thought process that's going on here? Do these people think that they are because I can't think of anything that's less royalist. I mean, it's treasonous. You really want to get medieval about it, to slag off the king's son and daughter-in-law in this way, to speak about them in such a disgusting and vitriolic fashion, to pick over their every pronouncement and step as if it is some sort of affront to British values. And the reason I'm coming to this story today is because I cannot get my head around how disgusting these people are. I'm not going to mince my words. I think you are truly disgusting. On the occasion of someone's grandmother's funeral, and I'm using the word funeral to describe the events of the whole week, okay, not just the coming events of Monday. Or we could say death. On the occasion of someone's... Let's run through the facts, shall we? Right? Let's just get this absolutely right. We are talking about someone who has lost his grandmother at a time when divisions in the family are still raw. So the grief, the loss, the bereavement is exacerbated by the knowledge that the peace that had once reigned in that family has been diluted, has been diverted. So that's point number one. He's lost his grandmother, right? And he's been living abroad, so he wouldn't have had as many conversations with her as he might like to have had. Number two, when he was 11, he was compelled by, quotes, protocol, to walk a child, a baby, to walk behind his dead mother's coffin. A mother who was killed, he believes, rightly or wrongly, at least in part, by the uncontrollable, the insatiable attentions of journalists, British and foreign journalists, who pursued her into a tunnel where the car crashed. Now, the car was being driven by someone who was drunk, and there are obviously questions to be asked about both that and the fact that seatbelts weren't being worn. It's not a simplistic conclusion to arrive at. But if your mum died, how would you feel if I came along and told you that your opinions about your mum's death were worthless or wrong or mistaken? Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, look, I know it was your mum, mate, but come here. You know, I've got a TV show. Let me tell you what... It's just gross. It's not funny. It's not fair. It's not journalism. It's disgusting. It's vicious and it's vitriolic. So that's point number two. Royal funerals for him must be absolutely unbearable, because that 11-year-old boy is very close to the surface in a week like this. That traumatized and, in my view, appallingly treated 11-year-old boy, wheeled out to walk behind that coffin, largely because the PR disaster of the royal family's response to the passing of Diana, Princess of Wales, needed to be assuaged. And what better way to assuage it by having her heartbroken boys walking behind the coffin at an age when they wouldn't be allowed into most films on release in this country, at an age when he'd be barely into secondary school in this country, before he'd sat a public exam, before he was considered old enough to, never mind drive a car, he wouldn't be old enough to... you can insert your own example here of just how youthful he was. So that's point number two, the trauma of attending royal funeral or funereal events. Unbelievable. Number three, because I don't think this would matter particularly to him, it's his birthday today. And number four, he is the son of the king that these people claim to revere or respect. And do you know what they did wrong yesterday? Do you know what these vampires and ghouls are complaining about? This boy, this man, who had to walk behind his mother's funeral at the last event. Not the last event, because he lost his great-grandmother as well, didn't he? But the event that he will be most reminded of this week would have been the most traumatic and heartbreaking event of his life. Do you know what they're complaining about? I bet you can't even guess. If you're not across this story already, I bet you can't even imagine what these vicious, vile individuals are complaining about today. But they're definitely not racist. Definitely not racist. Oh, no. No. We'd be this disgusting about anybody if they held hands on their way out of church. That's patriotism for you. according to Meghan Markle's critics. That's reverence for royalty for you, according to Meghan Markle's critics. That's commitment to the monarchy for you, according to Meghan Markle's critics. A man who has suffered the unimaginable pain of being compelled to walk behind his mother's coffin in the eyes of the entire world, held his wife's hand as they came out of a ceremony that would have brought back memory after memory after memory of the worst day of his life, or the second worst day of his life after discovering that he'd lost his mum. Now flip it, right? And look at it from her point of view. A woman who has been exposed to more abuse from the British media than anybody else I can think of. And I am not exaggerating when I say to you, I would include child killers in that analysis. In terms of paragraphs dedicated and pages counted, vicious, vile criminals have received less abuse and less criticism from the British media than the daughter-in-law of the new king. And she's back in the spotlight, back in the crucible where she knows every single sniff and
James O'Brien delivered one of the most powerful and necessary takedowns we've seen in years as he exposed the vicious, vile individuals attacking Harry and Meghan simply for holding hands during a moment of deep personal grief. He highlighted the staggering hypocrisy of critics who said nothing when strangers openly wailed, flailed, and called out Diana's name at her funeral, or when crowds wept uncontrollably for the Queen, yet suddenly found their voices when a grieving grandson reached for the one person who brings him comfort. Harry, already reliving the trauma of walking behind his mother's coffin at 12 years old, held Meghan's hand, not for show, not for attention, but for grounding, for stability, for emotional survival. O'Brien rightfully called out the cruelty and insecurity that fuels these attacks, noting that people who lack love, compassion, and healthy human connection often resent seeing it in others. Viewers echoed this sentiment, recognizing how the hatred directed at Meghan and Harry mirrors the same moral cowardice that allowed historical atrocities to flourish. Good people looking away while evil goes unchecked. The woman in the queue who proudly snubbed Meghan became a symbol of the everyday pettiness, entitlement, and quiet malice that drove the Sussexes from the UK. Many expressed fear that individuals capable of such irrational hatred should never be allowed anywhere near Harry and Meghan's children, because obsession and bigotry can easily escalate into danger. Through all this, O'Brien's empathy, clarity, and refusal to normalise bullying stood out as a rare voice of integrity within a media landscape that profits from tearing people down. His words affirmed what millions already see. Harry and Meghan's hand-holding is not a breach of protocol. It is a testament to a marriage built on genuine love, mutual protection, and emotional courage. By speaking up, James O'Brien reminded the world that compassion is not weakness, love is not scandal, and that standing against abuse, whether loud or subtle, is a moral obligation. Compassion and decency in the face of criticism, are qualities that really matter, especially when the world seems quick to judge. The outrage and vitriol directed at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for the simple act of holding hands at a sombre occasion is truly baffling, honestly. In a time of grief and mourning, the loving gesture between the couple serves as a poignant reminder of the comfort and support they provide one another. Yet, rather than empathizing with their pain, some have chosen to lash out in a display of heartless cruelty. This speaks volumes about the state of our society, where basic human decency and compassion are often drowned out by the vicious voices of those who delight in others' suffering. It is a sad reality that even in the face of profound loss, there will always be those who seek to diminish and demean, rather than offer solace and understanding. You know, the true mark of a civilized society is not found in the harsh judgments of the self-righteous, but really in the ability to extend empathy and kindness, even to those with whom we may disagree. I think it's time we all reflect on our own capacity for compassion, and, well, strive to be the change we wish to see in this world. Mourning the loss of loved ones is, honestly, one of the hardest things we ever face. The public displays of grief at the funerals of Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth were a stark contrast to the criticism faced by Harry and Meghan for simply holding hands. As strangers wailed and called out the names of these beloved figures, one would expect a similar outpouring of compassion for a grandson mourning his grandmother. Yet the misanthropes and scumbags who attacked Harry and Meghan for this small gesture of comfort and support reveal a troubling lack of empathy. Perhaps their resentment stems from seeing the very human, loving bond between this couple, something they themselves have yet to experience. It is a sad commentary on the state of humanity that we so often fail to show kindness and understanding, even in the face of profound grief. We must do better to honour the memory of those we have lost by embracing the living with the same depth of emotion. Comfort and misanthropes. In their time of grief, as Prince Harry and Meghan held hands to steady and comfort one another, a torrent of criticism and attacks rained down from those who, honestly, cannot even spell protocol. These misanthropes, with their vicious and vile commentary, seem utterly incapable of understanding the simple human need for compassion and solace during such profoundly emotional moments. Perhaps their own lack of empathy and inability to find such comfort in their own lives leaves them resentful of seeing it in others. But rather than reflect on their own deficiencies, they choose to lash out, unable to comprehend the very idea of offering kindness to a grieving couple. Their callous disregard for the pain of others is a stain upon our shared humanity, a sad reminder of how easily some can turn a blind eye to the suffering of their fellow man. In the face of such heartless cruelty, we would do well to heed the wisdom and compassion of those willing to speak up against it. It seems that some individuals are unable to empathise with the pain and grief that Harry and Meghan must be experiencing. Instead of showing compassion, they resent seeing the comfort, love and connection that this couple shares. This inability to understand the deep sorrow and trauma that Harry has endured, from losing his mother at a young age to now mourning the passing of his beloved grandmother, is truly baffling. These critics fail to recognise that the simple act of hand-holding between Harry and Meghan is likely a way for them to find solace and support in each other during such a profoundly difficult time. Rather than condemn this display of tenderness, we should applaud their ability to find solace in each other's embrace, even amidst the glare of public scrutiny. Sadly, some seem to be blinded by their own prejudices and biases, unable to appreciate the shared humanity that binds us all. The silence of bystanders. The parallels drawn to historical atrocities where people stood by and let abuses happen are, well, honestly chilling. It is a sobering realization that the same indifference and silence that allowed such horrors to unfold in the past persists even today. The importance of speaking up against injustice and cruelty cannot be overstated. When we remain silent in the face of wrongdoing, we become complicit in perpetuating the cycle of abuse and oppression. True change and progress can only come when we find the courage to raise our voices and confront the vicious, vile individuals who seek to demean and diminish the humanity of others. The Duchess of Sussex and her husband deserve the same compassion and support that any grieving individual would receive, not the vitriol and hatred spewed by those who cannot see beyond their own prejudices. It is time for us all to be the change we wish to see in the world, to stand up for what is right, and to ensure that the silence of bystanders never again allows the forces of cruelty and injustice to prevail. Compassion and decency. James O'Brien's intelligent and humane response to the vicious attacks against Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for simply holding hands is honestly, truly admirable. In a world that so often lacks empathy and compassion, his willingness to call out the vicious, vile individuals who resort to such cruel and unjustified criticism is a refreshing beacon of decency. The stark contrast between the outpouring of grief and emotion at the funerals of Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth and the callous condemnation of Harry and Meghan's public display of comfort and support for one another really highlights the alarming absence of basic human kindness in some quarters. As O'Brien rightly points out, these misanthropes who cannot even spell protocol are likely driven by deep-seated resentment, unable to fathom the love and compassion that this couple so openly share. This is a sobering reminder of how the stains of history, from slavery to genocide, were allowed to persist due to the silent complicity of those who could have spoken up. In standing up for Harry and Meghan, O'Brien has set a powerful example of the importance of using one's voice to challenge cruelty and intolerance, rather than remaining a passive bystander. His compassion and decency in this moment are, well, truly commendable. The vitriolic attacks on Harry and Meghan for the simple act of holding hands during a sombre funeral service are truly astounding. These so-called critics demonstrate a shocking lack of empathy and compassion, revealing themselves to be nothing more than vicious, vile individuals driven by an inexplicable hatred. Their cruel words and baseless accusations betray a black-hearted nature, seemingly resenting the comfort and love this couple finds in each other, even in their moments of grief. It is a disturbing glimpse into the dark underbelly of society, where basic human decency is so easily cast aside in favour of mindless vitriol. These bullies and misanthropes would do well to reflect on how their own moral failings have allowed great atrocities to occur throughout history, for it is the silence of the masses that emboldens the cruel and heartless. These bullies and misanthropes would do well to reflect on how their own moral failings have allowed great atrocities to occur throughout history, for it is the silence of the masses that emboldens the cruel and heartless. Thankfully, there are voices like James O'Brien's that are willing to stand up and denounce such viciousness, reminding us all of the importance of compassion and understanding, even in the face of such unwarranted attacks. The relentless and vicious attacks on the Duchess of Sussex by the British media have become truly disheartening. It is clear that the couple is far better off away from the cruelty and toxicity of the tabloid culture in the UK. The fact that people can vilify a woman simply for holding her husband's hand, especially in a moment of grief, is a disturbing reflection of the callousness and lack of compassion within certain segments of the public. Rather than acknowledging the very human need for comfort and support, these critics have chosen to unleash a barrage of hateful and unjustified criticism. It is a sad state of affairs when a loving, affectionate gesture between spouses can be twisted and distorted into something worthy of derision. The Duchess and her family deserve to find the peace and privacy they so clearly crave, free from the endless onslaught of media scrutiny and public vitriol. It is truly disheartening to see the vicious and vile attacks levelled against Harry and Meghan simply for the act of holding hands. This loving gesture, a symbol of their deep connection and mutual support, should be met with respect and understanding, not scorn and judgment. In a world that often lacks compassion, we must appreciate the authenticity and sincerity of their relationship rather than nitpick their every move. These two individuals, who are undoubtedly navigating immense grief and upheaval, deserve our empathy and kindness, not our derision. It is a sad commentary on the state of our society that we are quick to criticize the most basic expressions of human connection, rather than celebrate the beauty and comfort they can bring. Let us strive to be more understanding, to see the humanity in one another, and to uplift those who are simply trying to find solace in the embrace of a loved one.